conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to Thursday, which around here we like to call Thankful Thursday. So play it, man.
You got to be more thankful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
We thank you so much for this bountiful harvest of Domino's, KFC, and the always delicious Taco Bell.
Have you said thank you once?
Thank you.
That's nice. It's good. I'm thankful for JP, who's on the board pushing buttons. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm thankful for Phil today.
Thank you very much. We're thankful. And as well, we should be. But yeah, a lot going on, a lot of things happening. Great show laid on for you. It is Thursday. It is Thankful Thursday, as always. On Thursdays, we bring in a round of Butters and Lee. So yeah, don't forget, coming up halfway through hour number 2, Butters and Lee on, and looking forward to that. Plenty to talk about there. Target-rich environment, I guess, which leads me to the fact that we have a triple dipper too. So hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper, 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. So, first one, I didn't get to it yesterday. I saved it for today and even added more to it. Are there terrorists among us? That's what we're going to talk about for a while here. Are there terrorists living among us right now? I think the answer to that is likely yes. I do. I think it is good for us to keep our head on a swivel and our powder dry and be aware that perhaps more so than ever before, we are living in a heightened state of security, that groups like the FBI, the ATF, all of them are basically eyes wide open right now. And they've finally been cut loose, which is really good. But yeah, I think there are indeed terrorists among us. We're going to talk about it in detail. Number 1, the Triple Dipper. Number 2, do you remember when we had the almost Office of Disinformation being stood up by the federal government? You remember that? The same people who were also, oh, by the way, making sure that Facebook and Twitter back in the old days and all of those things were surely curtailing all the misinformation out there. Well, now you're looking at things that are happening even in California, Hawaii. The Babylon Bee has had to file suit against the state of Hawaii. That being said, the thought police are still out there, and we're going to talk about it. Number 2 on the Triple Dipper. And then number 3, the rats are jumping ship, man. The rats are jumping ship. I'm saying the Democrat Party right now, especially the former members of the Biden administration, are just like in complete disarray, and they are jumping ship. They are pointing fingers. It's a circular firing squad. We'll talk about it all. Number 3 on the Triple Dipper is, rats are jumping ship. All right, let me jump on into the opening monologue for the day, the Rightside Way monologue, brought to you every day by attorney Stan McDonald. Stan McDonald, partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee, a 30-year veteran in the practice of law. And yeah, Stan McDonald is the daily sponsor of the Rightside Way, and I'll tell you more about Stan here in a few minutes. All right, I don't know about you, but me personally, I loathe paying taxes. I just do. It's that annual event that just curls my hair. Drives me crazy. And at the same time, I also know that to some degree it's necessary. I get it. Things like roads and police officers and the military, the court system, somebody has to pay for that, and I get it. It has to be paid for somehow. But what's amazing, though, what's amazing to me, and here's where I get a real problem with it. It's amazing when government forgets that it doesn't need to do everything. But they find ways to make life more difficult, nonetheless, which costs more, by the way. And then it becomes as if you've been taxed just for living because the government made your life more expensive. They call it regulations. So whether it be a tax or a burdensome regulation, it's like the government is making your life more expensive. It's taxation by another means, if you will. There's an amazing story in Matthew chapter 17. It's about taxes, but it wasn't a normal tax. It was called the temple tax. It was originally supposed to be collected during the time of the census, according to Exodus. But over time, it kind of grew to where it became this annual tax that all Jewish men had to pay for the upkeep of the temple. So on this one particular day, the religious leaders thought they would try to trap Jesus. They're always doing it, right? They would try to trap him by questioning whether he paid his temple tax. I mean, keep in mind the way it worked back then. If you were part of the royal family, you were exempt from paying temple tax. Really? Yes, apparently so. So some people had to pay for their church while others got special ways out of it. Nice. All the while, the tax collectors for the temple saw a way to try and use the temple tax to get at Jesus, to curb his ministry, to try and keep him in line. But Jesus wasn't fazed. He literally, in Matthew 17, this is one of the coolest stories. He told Peter, go catch a fish, look in its mouth, and you will find a coin that will be enough to pay off the temple tax. That is a crazy story, but it worked. The first fish that Peter caught, he looked in the mouth and there was a coin, and it was just the right amount to pay the tax. Jesus said it was important to do it so that nobody could cast blame on him, so they wouldn't have a stumbling block. And we all know he could have snapped his fingers and the issue would have gone away, but he chose to put Peter, who, by the way, was a fisherman by trade, into a position to do some work, to pay some taxes. And if you get down to it, he still got to keep the fish after he is done, which had value in itself. Probably had a fish dinner that night. That's a cool story. But isn't it interesting, though, how leaders can get the idea that taxes are the way to go, and that leaders, even in the biblical story, were using a tax as a mean to try and trap people, to trap Jesus and his followers, to impede their progress, to even mock them and try to keep them in line. Yeah, how'd that work out? 2,000 years later, nobody knows the tax collector's name, but everybody's heard of Jesus. But listen, seriously, taxes and hyper-regulation, they're kind of the same thing. Because when a government tries to impede your progress, it only winds up costing you more to work through the red tape. It's like taxation by other means when bureaucrats slap another regulation on your life so they can either tax you with plain old money or then just make the productivity of your life harder. Either way, my friends, that is called a tax. And that, my friends, is also the catalyst that launched our country. 251 years ago, the world woke to a new dynamic. There was an event occurred that became known as the Boston Tea Party. You ever heard about it? You ever considered why it happened? Have you considered what the underlying point was of it? For that matter, have you ever considered whether or not the issues that caused the amazing act of civil disobedience called the Boston Tea Party might even still be the issues of our time now? Yeah, taxes are a way of life, right? They're a fact. But problems arise when government's insatiable appetites for more and more regulatory burdens or taxation in general create what we call these burdens upon our life. Sometimes they create taxes without even calling them taxes. And when that happens, the people have to speak up and tell government enough's enough. Well, in 1773, the British Parliament passed what became known as the Tea Act. Keep in mind, tea was a main staple of the daily diet back then in colonial times. Raising the cost of tea back then would be like raising the cost of sliced bread today. Everybody used it. Everybody bought it. Everybody felt the sting of the higher taxes on something that everybody used every day. And the British Parliament could care less about those silly dirt scratchers living over there in the colonies. So they sipped their own tax-free tea, and they made life more costly for their subjects. But then they really ticked everybody off when they also changed the rules altogether. You see, there were already certain taxes in place that everybody grudgingly knew about. As part of what was known as the Townshend Act, there was a levy on the imports of goods, including tea, and it was enacted to help fund the governments of the American colonies. Well, the colonials, they grumbled, but the Townshend Act, well, it remained in place. And then they were raised, and then they were used to punish, and then they were only used on certain people, not on others. You see, the British East India Company developed a trade route to China and began importing Chinese tea to the colonies. But they were tied in with the big government in London. They had all the best lobbyists. They were friends of the crown. So the British government decided the East India Company did not have to pay the Townshend Act taxes on tea to the colonies. Basically, the East India Company wormed its way into out of paying what everybody else had to pay on goods they knew that everyone had to buy at a time when no one could do without it. How about that? They saw a moment and they collaborated with big government to get their way to the distinct disadvantage of the men and women of the colonies. And that was the final straw. The people had had enough. In the darkened night on December 16, 1773, a group calling itself the Sons of Liberty gathered at Boston Harbor. Many of them disguised themselves as Native Americans, and they boarded ships owned by the East India Company that had recently sailed into port, and they threw an entire shipment of tea out into the harbor. And it became known as the Boston Tea Party. A few days later in Philadelphia, local citizens also refused to let the East India Company unload another cargo of tea and just sent them packing back to England. It was taxation without representation, they said, but it was also more than that. It was also unequal treatment under the law. You see, the citizens had a need for something. The government could see the need, and the government decided to make the need more expensive, At the same time, granted special favors to the friends of government so they didn't have to pay it. On one side, it was a true tax. On the other side, it was a burden. But on the other side of then again was taxation by other means when one part of the economy got special favors, leaving the other part of the economy to deal with the results. When government skews a market to go its way, it has really just created taxation by other means. The British government in the 1770s, it knew what many in government know now. It knew that taxes can be, to simply fund essential services, but taxes can also be used to punish, to regulate, to create new behaviors. And the most epic version of taxation by other means in today's world happened on a scale never before seen as the Biden administration worked to change our economy in what many called the Green New Deal. I've often referred to it as the Green New Steel because the vast majority of the regulatory burdens, the tax-free subsidies, the special favors to green companies, the penalties for traditional energy sector companies was like literally taking money out of our pockets on a daily basis. The Biden administration knows we have to have energy. You can't get by without it in today's world. And the Biden administration put out these new regulatory orders trying to force things like emission standards on vehicles powered by combustion engines. So the cost of automobiles would go up, even though they know that cars are essential to daily life. Everything from hot water heaters, ovens, stoves, air conditioning systems, light bulbs, ceiling fans, they were all given new green energy compliance standards. And because they are more tightly regulated, they cost more to the consumer, who then everyone knows has to have these products as part of their daily life in the 21st century. What we were seeing in the green energy regulatory frenzy was taxation by another means. They didn't tell you to pay more for the thing, but they made the thing harder to get, and they made the thing harder to make, which made the thing cost more by itself. Therefore, it was taxation. Companies that make the products that we depend on had no choice but to comply or face being fined, or even worse yet, put out of business. The Biden administration was so desperate to shape our behavior, to punish our noncompliance, and to model society in a way that their ideologies matched, that they did so by taxing us and then by regulating us. And then there were the special friends of government, the modern day versions of the East India Company, green sector companies that enjoyed massive government subsidies to keep them afloat, give them advantages over their competition that they never would have had in a free market. Companies like the electric bus manufacturer called Proterra. They hired good lobbyists. They sucked down millions in taxpayer dollars. They enjoyed massive tax exemptions, and they created buses that cities bought with government grants, and then they filed for bankruptcy when their products were shown to be unreliable. Look, this past election cycle, the people spoke loudly and clearly. The repeal of the Green New Steel was needed. It was. Government has an insatiable appetite for your money. And if it can't be gained through taxation, then they will tax you by other means. Big government activists, they will continue to regulate your behavior to make your out-of-pocket for things you don't want go up, while taxing things you do want. Yep. We basically threw electric buses and all of it out into the harbor in our own version of the Green New Steel Tea Party. All that to say, they had it figured out back in biblical times. They could use a tax to try and put somebody in their place. They figured it out in the Biden administration. They could use taxes and regulations to put people in their place. And every time, whether it be the sons of the king not paying a temple tax, or the Green New Steel, or the East India Company, there's always these people that got the special favors, except for us. Taxation by other means. It's real, y'all. It's very real. And that's a wrap for the Rightside Way. Well, there you go. Think about it. Every time they made something cost more or get harder to get, it was a taxation, whether you paid the money or just wound up having to pay more to get the thing. All said and done, I'm glad they're gone. And we got to keep correcting this. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Just saving the world one soundbite at a time. Bunch of y'all are texting in already. Text lines are open, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Text it or call it. Oh, and I can't call it. What am I saying? I got years of habit.
Soon,
JP. By the way, y'all have no idea what JP's been doing, getting everything ready. So we do have phones. That is true. Our phones right now are going to be best used by giving the number to people that need them. Our main number is being imported into the system.
Yep.
In the meantime, just text it.
Well, we didn't want to put out the temporary number and then go back to the normal. We'll just wait till the normal number process is done getting imported, and then y'all can call in.
That's correct. That's right.
So soon.
I don't want to confuse me. Obviously,
Yes.
I'm already confused.
Yeah.
So, all right. Hey, I got to tell you about attorney Stan McDonald, partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee, 30-year veteran in the practice of law in North Alabama. Good dude. And oh, by the way, a good lawyer. And he's also the daily sponsor of the Right Side Way monologue. I know him personally. And I also know this, not only is Stan the kind of guy that can advocate for your legal needs without any trouble at all, but he's also the kind of guy who's been in the trenches, in the mix, fighting for the conservative policies and politics that all of you right side ruffians care about. So yeah, attorney Stan McDonald, he can represent you in any local, state, or federal court. He's served his clients in like over thousands of real estate transactions. And if you need Stan McDonald, I'm telling you right now, you'd have no greater friend on your side. Likewise, your adversaries would have no greater foe. So let me tell you how to reach him, because if you want a lawyer in North Alabama, I'm going to give you his phone number. You ready? Stan McDonald. Wilmer and Lee is the law firm. The number is 256-479-3020. That's Stan McDonald, 256-479-3020. And tell him you heard about it on Right Side Radio. Oh, yeah. No representation made. The quality legal service B form is great. The quality legal service for the lawyers.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
It's like,
stop it.
I think you just got back-to-back 10s. Today, honestly. The bit may be over. You're just too good at them now.
Shut my mouth. Text lines are open. You had some on social media over there too. What do you got?
And we got several people checking in. We got Pat Jones on YouTube saying hello from Decatur, Alabama. We got John from Huntsville
Hello,
saying happy Thankful Thursday, Phil and JP. We also got a Phil Wardrobe comment on Rumble. Says, it is relaxed Phil sporting the right side t-shirt, styling.
I am dressed for radio.
And then we also got Brother Racing saying, right side ruffian for life. Aloha, Brother Phil.
Hey, aloha, Brother Racing. I love the fact that we got Racing out there in Hawaii listening in all the time. Thank you very much. Yeah, I am. I'm dressed for radio. That doesn't mean I'm going to take a nap during the show or anything. All right, Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. More text messages and we'll dive right in when we get back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all hang on. Listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Like covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all are talking about this one, oh man, goes from like Huntsville back on over to Chattanooga. I'm talking Tuscaloosa back on over to Gadsden. All the way down to that loveliest little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the border from there to what we now get to call once again Fort Benning. And then big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for good measure. Yeah, by the way, that's just the radio audience. Then there's all y'all in the whole wide world going to the World Wide Web and watching on YouTube and on X and on Facebook and on our website, and then downloading it sometimes in podcast form. Thank you very much. The bottom line is we love you. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. I got to catch up on a few text messages because y'all are some texting machines today. Ken from Harvest says, fines are a penalty for doing poorly. Taxes are a fine for doing well. Oh my gosh. That's a t-shirt. Did you hear that? That is, I'm going to read it again, and then you're going to find a sound effect. I just feel certain. Fines are a penalty for doing poorly. Taxes are a fine for doing well. There it is. I'm pretty sure they said that as they marched to the Boston Tea Party. That's what I'm thinking. They should have. Mindy from Morris, by the way, that was Ken from Harvest. Great job, Ken. Mindy from Morris says there's a mini series called Sons of Liberty, provides great background to the cause of the revolution. Thank you very much. Absolutely. TL from Huntsville says, great monologue, Phil. Happy Thankful Thursday. I'm thankful for tax cuts and Tax Freedom Day. Here's one to get you started. He said, quote, gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. That's Melody Beatty, I believe it is. I'm also thankful he says that we now have a president that wants to protect the country and has a vision for the future. Agreed. Jenny from Decatur says, this excellent monologue, Phil. All caps. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. John from Huntsville. Phil, awesome monologue, and there's nothing more refreshing than a glass of cold, sweet tea on a hot summer day. Okay. Thank you very much. That felt very random. Also, he says, tea. I get it. It was tea. I'm pretty sure they didn't drink it sweet and cold with ice.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No.
I think it was salty for being dumped into the harbor.
That batch was. Is it also, did you see that Andrew Cuomo got absolutely crushed by 8 other Democrat mayor candidates at a debate in New York City? I did not. He said, by the way, JP, did you see the exciting comeback of the Edmonton Oilers last night?
I did not.
To win Game 1, Stanley Cup.
I did not.
Thank you, John, for all of the news updates. Kevin from Huntsville says we need to put Trump and Musk in the get along shirt. Yeah, we definitely do. I mean, it's I don't know if y'all are watching it, but it's getting like super ugly, like beyond petty. Now it's beyond policy. Now it's just insulting each other, and they're doing it very openly. And I think the world needs it to stop. And I say that not because one side's got the better argument on I put aside the policy. These are two people that the base loves and cares for. I agree with something Charlie Kirk said a while ago. It doesn't matter how bad this gets feuding between the two of them. We're still glad that Elon bought X, and we're still glad that Trump won the election. And I don't need all this crap. I don't think any of us need this crap about, well, you wouldn't have won without me, or, well, you're ungrateful. And then you got the other side going, well, I don't know what's wrong with you. You just want those EV mandates back in the bill because you're trying to pad your own pockets. That crap's got to stop, man. This is just, weigh in if you want to, but that crap's got to stop. Nobody needs that right now. In fact, what we need is a little bit more of the side that won the election to act like the side that won the election.
They're giving the Democrats the break that they need.
They are. They're creating the distraction the Democrats were dying for.
I've already seen all the Democrats posting like popcorn emojis, like they're just enjoying this because it's just it's giving them what they want.
Absolutely, so. It's a crying freaking shame. And you know what? You're also grown men. Please, we need y'all to get it together. We need y'all to somebody put them in a room together and have them kumbaya, and they can come out and disagree on policy, but we sort of need them to like get their act together so that we can enjoy the moments that we're in and not give the Democrats a victory. And I'll be honest with you, I thought that Trump was the one who, sometimes comes with the harder statements. Musk is like dropping bombs right now on X, like claiming that Trump is in the Epstein files and stuff like that. And you look at it and go, my God, man, it's way beyond the pale now. A few more text messages, then I'll wrap it. Dustin from Hazel Green sent me, what he sent me? Said Eric Berger is the #1 journalist for all space news. Okay.
There's a text before that that's connecting the dots.
What are we talking about? I mean,
what was the name again?
Dustin from Hazel Green. Is it something to do with SpaceX? Oh,
yeah,
SpaceX.
Okay.
It's part of the fight?
Yeah.
Okay. So now all of a sudden Trump's pulling contracts away from SpaceX. That's okay. JT Lacey Springs says legal disclaimer. Wait for it. 2.44 seconds. Oh, wow. I nailed it, man.
That was really good. Yeah,
that was good. Chris from Priceville says, was Musk a Trojan horse? The media's eating us up. No, he wasn't a Trojan horse. I mean, what we saw during the election was absolutely real. There was a lot of love. There was a lot of effort. Both sides were into the idea of working together. You see them eating dinner together down at Mar-a-Lago. He was like the other son for a while there. And now all of a sudden there's this very open feud, and it just like sprang up almost overnight.
Well, it may shock people, but people can actually disagree on things.
You can.
But the thing, like, Trump has gone off after Massey and Rand Paul and Trump supporters who just disagree on, policy. And I've had a problem in the past, Trump just taking that personal all the time. And I think he took this one with Elon personal, but then Elon just took that to DEFCON 5.
Yeah, I did.
So why can't we just disagree on policy, and it doesn't have to go anything beyond that?
Let me ask you a question. Is it possible? Mark from Tony just texted in. Is it possible that this is Trump and Musk doing something? They're playing this out to try to bait people into something. Nah. I don't think so. I think they're fighting.
That's not 4D chess. Okay. Everything is not 4D chess. Sometimes people just fight.
It's a good point. Jeff from Indiana says liberals are the ones who usually buy the EVs. This could be a kabuki show between Trump and Musk to get Tesla sales up. We'll see. Penny from Athens says, Phil, I'm thinking maybe Trump and Elon may be doing this on purpose. If Elon goes against Trump, then his business won't suffer because the left is sopping this up like gravy and biscuits. Think about it. Yeah, I know. But you know what? At the same time, you don't need negative publicity to do that. Trump could have easily have said, we're going to do subsidies, or give you a big contract or something. But the public fight, nah, I don't think. Anyway, I like your analogy of 4D chess.
Well, somebody also pointed out the searches for how to take stickers off of a car skyrocketed after Elon and Trump's beef started. So I don't know if that's like all the anti-Elon Tesla owners that are now pro-Elon again, but I find that coincidental and kind of funny.
Okay, we'll see. Hey, listen, I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to go ahead and kick off this first dipper. By the way, this is a serious one. This is some heavy topic. I'm going to be honest with you, and it's real. I've got a piece here from Town Hall, and I've been thinking this for a while, and I thought this guy Kevin McCullough did a great job of framing the discussion. Came out just a couple of days ago at townhall.com. I hold it here in my calloused former paratrooper hands, and it says, like, for instance, nearly 1,500 illegal foreign nationals were arrested, most of them hiding in sanctuary jurisdictions just in the last week. Now, I did see, and JP, if you could look this up, ICE just announced that they hit an all-time record for one-day detentions or arrests today, or maybe it's yesterday. Tell me how much that was when you find it, all right? But the point I'm making here is this guy from Town Hall, he writes, you got it?
Yep. Over 2,200 people in a day.
Wow. Was that yesterday?
Today.
So far today?
Well, the article was put up 3 hours ago, so I guess it was yesterday. If it had to be 22, I don't think they got 2,200 people in what 12 hours. So I'm assuming it was yesterday.
Still 2,200.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still dropping the bucket to the millions who streamed across the border, but it's an excellent. By the way, that 2,200, there's a bit of a force multiplier you can put on that, because there's going to be a lot of self-deportations that follow that 2,200. You're going to have some people are going to follow, daddy back to Venezuela now. Some people are going to follow their husband or their spouse back to wherever they came from. Others are going to see this as a sign of the times and decide to self-deport. So I do believe that 2,200 probably has a value that is exponentially slightly higher in terms of what its overall impact is. But that I don't want to stray too far from my topic. Here's the deal. Are there terrorists within our nation right now? That's my question. Are there terrorists within the United States right now? I will tell you that I feel firmly that the answer is yes. I believe there's always been sleeper cells, but I think we are at a higher threat level right now than perhaps we've ever been, in large part because of the millions of unvetted individuals. I mean, we had 2 million gotaways. 2 million gotaways. That's somebody who made it. We saw them, but we couldn't catch them. And we have no idea why they're here or who they are. So even if you just go, well, the rest of them got processed, Phil, so we know who they are. Yeah, how many of those were on the terror watch list? But 2 million? Do you know how big the United States military is? It's not even 2 million. So all I'm saying is, not that we have 2 million terrorists, but what I am saying is, mixed into that 2 million, it's a pretty fair assumption there's some bad actors. Piece here from Sanctuary, from townhall.com, talks about sanctuary states and sleeper cells and what it calls a nation on the brink. It says these were criminal aliens that were arrested largely, some with convictions for rape and murder and kidnapping and terror-related charges. But the deeper question remains, like a storm cloud over our national security: was it enough? Or more to the point, is it in time? And the article points out, and needs to be said, that the 9/11 attackers were already here in the United States. They were living among us. The 9/11 terrorists, they hid right there in plain sight. They came here. They pretended to be working. They lived among us. They went to an American flight school to learn how to fly the planes. They used the fact that we had weak law enforcement, lax visa oversights. They had deliberate government blindness, if you will. And they basically carried out the deadliest terror attack in U.S. history. And they've been living right here among us. And it was a small 4-man cell. I look at this and think, okay, this is legit. National security analysts, this article points out, have been saying this for a long time. The threat of a major domestic terror plot is as high as it's been in decades. By the way, when you say domestic terror plot, that's not the Biden administration's version. Well, we believe there's radical white Christian extremists in our, we're not talking about that. We're talking about bad actors who came across the border from other places where they hate America with an intent to be here and wait for their orders to do something bad. So I'll read this direct quote because I thought he did such a good job with this. He says, many on the left are fine with taking this gamble. They'll stake the safety of your family on their compassionate, quote unquote, immigration policies. They'll let drug cartels smuggle fentanyl and human beings across the porous border. They'll pretend that mass migration equals moral virtue, even while Americans are being killed, raped, trafficked, and terrorized in their own neighborhoods. That's a sobering statement. But then it talks about the fact that it does not take a big, high-dollar, large-scale operation to create terror. And it points out some examples. It says, just in the last year, border agents have caught multiple individuals on the FBI terror watch list trying to enter the U.S. If those are the ones we caught, how many slipped through? And then they remind us of this. In Israel, the October 7th massacre, 1,400 people were killed. In the Bataclan in Paris, 130 people were killed in 2015. In the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, a radical extremist killed 49. In the London tube bombings in 2005, 52 were killed. The bottom line is, he says, it doesn't take an army, it takes an open door. And it says the Biden administration kicked it wide open. All right, there's a sobering intro to this topic, all right? Sobering intro to this topic. Terrorists, are they among us? The likelihood is yes, there are some. And I'll tell you about a few things that we just saw right here on U.S. soil when I get back from the break. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower. So the whole idea of, are there terrorists among us? It doesn't always have to be the big cell looking to do the thing, like 9/11. Sometimes it can be the individual lone wolves, and we'll talk about that Colorado thing in a minute. But if you didn't see it, part of what kicked this into high gear for me to do this dipper was a story that broke. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think that this has gotten near the airtime that it should. It's kind of funny to me that this is happening, and yet I'm seeing it as like a sort of like a below the fold kind of story, if you know what I mean. All right, by the way, JP, that's an old newspaper saying. I know you probably haven't seen a whole lot of these newspapers. It used to be the important stories were above the fold when you folded it over, and below the fold.
I understood what you were saying, but I didn't know that was the reference. So now
that's
I know
the
that.
reference.
Okay, good.
Newspaper. So the New York Post has a piece on this. The FBI just announced, Kash Patel did it first on his social media. They just announced the arrest of two Communist Party loyalists, Chinese, I guess they're here on a work visa, researchers at the University of Michigan. I'll read the opening for the article for you. New York Post, Dateline yesterday. National security authorities and members of Congress are raising alarm over the alleged plot by two Chinese researchers to smuggle samples of a dangerous crop-killing fungus into the U.S. It's not always about just killing people outright. Sometimes it's about destroying the ability for people to live. Does that make sense? Young King John, she's a female, 33, a Communist Party loyalist and lab researcher at the University of Michigan, received government funding for her work from China, plotted the illicit transportation of a pathogen with her boyfriend, Yunjong Liu, 34, the FBI has alleged. Here's the thing, it's a fungus. Its official name is called Fusarium graminearum. And it basically, if it can be manipulated, it can devastate whole sections of agribusiness. It can wipe out crops basically what it destroys is wheat. I'm trying to think what all it was: wheat, rice, and corn and barley. Well, those are the main staples of the world's diet, not just ours. But it can devastate all crops, said one national security source. Both John and Lou were charged on Monday in a federal complaint for conspiracy and smuggling goods into the U.S. They were literally trying to smuggle this fungus in from China. They're being funded by China for their research. They're knowingly trying to evade the authorities by shipping this stuff in, and there's zero good reason for it to be here. In fact, for it to be on the FBI's kind of watch list, if you will, is a clear indication that this is not something that we had decided in advance. It'd be really good if we had some of that here so we could study it. Can you get us some of that, John? Hey, can you haul your buddies in China and get us a little bit of that fungus? No, they were hiding it in their luggage, trying to get it here. The boyfriend who, what I say his name was Zunyong Liu, the boyfriend was caught last July. Last July, by the Biden administration, the FBI intercepted him. What did they do? They just sent him back to China. Oh, that's it? You didn't go after his girlfriend? You didn't take care of the rest of the problem? Nope. And so what did girlfriend do? Girlfriend tried to repeat the process, and she just got caught. While searching one of the boyfriend's cell phones, they found reference to an article in PDF form saved on his phone titled Plant Pathogen Warfare Under Changing Climate Conditions. Let that sink in. He's studying an article called Plant Pathogen Warfare, which specifically deals with the exact same fungus, Fusarium graminearum, calling it an example of a destructive disease and pathogen for crops responsible for billions of dollars in economic losses worldwide. What would happen if they could release it in the U.S.? Well, that happened with people who were knowingly here. That happened with people who were not banned from being here. They weren't gotaways who stormed across the border. They weren't illegal aliens. She's on a work visa, being funded by the Chinese government to do research in Michigan and trying to smuggle in a virus that could, or excuse me, a fungus that could have devastating effect. Are there terrorists living among us? The odds are, yeah. I got more. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome to hour number 2 on a thankful Thursday. And I'll be honest with you, I'm watching like right now. I'm going to get back on my topic, but there's Chip Roy right now on Fox. He's talking with Will Cain, and he said this is a big ugly battle between Musk and Trump, and it is. And it's gotten way, way, way beyond policy now, way, way, way beyond policy. And now people are starting to pick sides. Don't pick sides. Just stop. Everybody's let them play out. Ain't no reason to jump all in. But some of the people on social media and everything else, they can't help themselves. And I'm already watching some of the ones that I follow saying, my money's on so-and-so, and Trump's going to have a great lawsuit, and Musk is going to win. And like, shut up.
Welcome to the world of social media.
No kidding.
Every topic, you got to pick a side right off the bat.
It's worse than Auburn, Alabama.
Don't go there.
You got to declare. Hey, I'm on this topic right now. Are there terrorists living among us? I just told you about the Chinese nationals that were trying to smuggle in. They weren't trying to import it they were trying to smuggle it in for reasons unknown, but it couldn't have been good. On that same vein, I'll wrap that piece up by saying FBI Director Kash Patel told Fox News Digital in a story that I've got dated 2 days ago that these 2 Chinese nationals created what he called a serious national security threat to America's food supply. He said this case is a sobering reminder the Chinese Communist Party continues to deploy its operatives and researchers to infiltrate our institutions and target our food supply, an act that could cripple our economy and endanger American lives. It's not just a violation of law, it's a direct threat to national security. That's some pretty solid discussion points right there by the director of the FBI. But then let's talk about the fact that there's so many of them that are here that even lone wolf terrorists, if you will, are still a serious, potentially deadly problem. Look at what happened in Boulder, Colorado. So the guy in Boulder, Colorado was an illegal alien from Egypt. He wasn't supposed to be here. He came in under the Biden administration. He had a work visa, and then he stayed past his visa, and the Biden administration knew it, and they granted him asylum, even after he had overstayed his visa. They granted him asylum. What did he do? He attacked innocent bystanders in Boulder, Colorado, setting 8 people on fire a few days ago. By the way, the White House plans on deporting him and deporting his entire family. And they're intent on doing that. Story here from Town Hall again says the family of Boulder terror suspect Mohammed Solomon is getting deported. The State Department revoked all their visas and is fast tracking them for deportation, except, as well you might guess, there's a federal district court judge who sees otherwise. Of course they do. Judge Gordon P. Gallagher. Nice. Judge Gordon P. Gallagher decided that he would rule against the Trump administration about deporting these dangerous people. He said it's time, this time it was related to the deportation of the family of Mohammed Solomon. The judge has enjoined the Trump administration from doing so. It doesn't mean they won't get there eventually. He just says, you can't just, by the way, what do we know about this judge? Well, he's big on DEI. He has an affinity for it. He's actually spoken at conferences about the beauties and wonders of DEI. He was appointed by Joe Biden. Of course he was. And he's a Colorado Democratic appointee. Are they living among us? Well, it makes you wonder, and the Trump administration is trying to say, we don't want more of you. So this just happened. Fox News, Dateline last night. President Donald Trump has now signed a sweeping order blocking travel to the U.S. from nearly 20 countries. So basically, the Trump administration is saying we're trying to get to the ones that are here, find them before they do something, and get rid of them. At the same time, why would we keep taking them in? And while the border may be more secure right now, there's zero reason, in Trump's opinion, to have people traveling in from places like Afghanistan, Iran, Somalia, Libya, Yemen, Venezuela, Cuba, Laos. So he's saying, you know what? Some are facing partial, some are facing entire travel restrictions. We're not going to be letting you the Taliban are not going to be sending their people over here. You know, the Houthis are not sending their people over here. Why would we just take them? Somalia, you can keep all of them. And then I will tell you this, added to this is almost depressing, but it shouldn't be, by the way.
Scary, but it's something that has to be brought to the light.
It is real.
Yep.
It's just like this conversation we're having right now is just like when my daughter was going off to college, leaving home. And I had sort of trained her this way while she was, living at home with us. But while she's gone, I would tell her, I said, darling, you keep your head on a swivel, and you look like somebody who cares about your surroundings at all times. Don't be the one who walks out in the Walmart parking lot in the dark of night with your head down in your phone, not paying attention to who's around you. Keep your head up and look around. Be aware of your surroundings. And the bad guys see that, and they see you as a harder target, and they are less likely to prey on you. So
it's like you said, it's a similar conversation to that of you got to be aware, and
got to be aware.
But this is also why there's so much urgency to get people out of the nation, and so
I think the last piece of this too, the wake up call here recently, and you may look at it and go, how does that affect us? Well, it just does, because it was a harbinger of the way the world is going right now. The war between Ukraine and Russia. We just saw one of the most innovative attacks inside Russia by Ukraine using something that is now considered to be off-the-shelf capability. So if you're not familiar, what Ukraine did, and it took them 18 months to plan this. It was a lot of intelligence. So it was a bigger picture, I guess, than I would say that like the little sleeper cells might do here. But it clearly gave indication that our military installations and other aspects of our society and our infrastructure are exposed when it comes to things like drones. So what Ukraine did, and this is, I'll be honest with you, it's pretty epic. What they did was they created these containers inside Russia. They created the containers. The containers were designed to look like shipping containers, except they had a false roof. And under the false roof, there was a layer of drones. And then they hired Russian truck drivers to so-called ship them to other parts of the nation. And as they drove closer to their targets, suddenly the tops came open and all these drone swarms came out of these trucks, and they just devastated parts of the Russian Air Force. Now, that being said, I've got an article here. I got two articles, actually. One from News Nation asking the question, can the U.S. protect itself from a Ukraine-style drone attack? It's got people wondering. It's raised some eyebrows. I'll just tell you right now, if you're out there at Redstone Arsenal and you're working on unmanned aerial systems, the wave of the future is to convert over to what we called UAS defeat or UAS protection. Unmanned aerial systems being defeated is a big deal right now in government contracting. News Nation points out federal officials have yet to provide any conclusive answers on the mystery drone sightings that we've been seeing around the United States. And the Golden Dome, we know, is going to cost like $175 billion. But the Ukraine plan, the covert drone attack, it was cheap by comparison. And a lot of it was what we call off-the-shelf technology. Think what you can do with a swarm of drones that you buy at Walmart. Piece on task and purpose, and I'll end with this. A piece on task and purpose that I pulled says we have no silver bullet against a planned drone attack like what we saw in Ukraine. So basically, yeah, they had 117 Ukrainian drones that launched against 4 airfields and did devastating damage to the Russian Air Force. We don't know the extent of it yet, but we know it was big. Ukraine's attack has revealed that military installations far from the front lines can still be vulnerable to drone attacks, and it also comes as the U.S. military struggles to prevent drone incursions at its own bases in the U.S. Despite the urgent need, it says the U.S. military is not yet fully invested in low-altitude drone defense. All right. All I'm saying is this. In the practice of law, when it comes to evidence in court, sometimes we take into account what's called the totality of the circumstances. The totality of our circumstances right now are we had millions stream across our border, of at least 2 million of which are known gotaways, meaning we don't even know who they were. We just saw them from a distance, but we couldn't get there in time. 2 million. How many of them are bad actors? Well, we know that the terror watch list, we had any number of people that were caught at our border that are on the terror watch list. Makes you wonder how many of them were gotaways that we don't know came in. That being said, we just had Chinese nationals try to smuggle in a pathogen that could have had a devastating impact on our agriculture. And oh, by the way, we had a lone wolf out in Boulder, Colorado, who was an illegal, who just lit 8 innocent bystanders on fire while screaming free Palestine. At the same time, Ukraine clearly demonstrated, once again, there's technology on the battlefield. Ukraine just demonstrated that with a low-tech effort, you can create devastating effect. All that to say, keep your heads on a swivel. That's what I'm saying. we keep our heads on a swivel, we have a robust means of addressing the issue, and we take nothing for granted. There you have it. Are there terrorists among us? I think the answer is probably yes. That's why we have to be the hard target. All right, there. That was a sobering conversation. I'm going to take a break right now. I'll take that break. I'll come right back. Got a bunch of text messages. Some of y'all have opinions, and some of y'all are chiming in, too, about the issue with Trump and Musk. Bill Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Man, pulling pins on truth grenades. That's what we're doing. All right, going to get a bunch of text messages caught up here. Wow. You got any you want to chime in on? You just let me know.
Well, I got one. Marty from Clay
Yeah.
is commenting on the YouTube. He's talking about the Elon Musk Trump situation.
yeah.
Said, just take a couple of minutes and really think about it. Elon Musk just left the White House, and now there's a feud. There's something more to it.
Okay. That's not an unreasonable thought.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy from Matt, by the way, there were rumors that there was a bit of a schism forming while he was still coming in and out of the White House. Him and J.D. Vance, I think, or Marco Rubio. I forgot which one. It may have been Vance. I think it was Vance.
Can't remember.
Yeah, there was something going on. But still, I mean, doesn't listen.
It's gone too far.
It's gone too far. Jeremy from Penny from Athens. Penny from Athens. Phil, I'm thinking Trump. I didn't see that. Okay, Jeremy from Madison says the beef between Trump and Musk is all show. Musk needs to look like he's not a Trumper in order to regain Democrats' approval for the sake of his business. Musk is repeating an opinion. I don't know about that because I don't think he cares about public opinion. Otherwise, he wouldn't have bought X and just alienated the entire leftist base several years ago. And then, so I don't think it's a question of he's got to look better. If there's some kind of, to use your term, 4D chess going on, it's going to be related to something entirely different with an agenda attached to it between the two of them. But this feels like two people that need to quickly get a grip on their situation.
You don't manufacture an argument that involves Elon claiming Trump's on the Epstein list. I just don't know how that helps. I don't know how that helps anybody.
Yeah, no. Tom from Decatur says, speaking of terrorists, how about federal judges keeping illegal aliens, families of terrorists in our country for political agendas? I covered that a minute ago. It's just nuts. At the very least, if they're supporting terrorists, at worst, they are aiding them. How many Americans have to die before these political hacks masquerading as judges get reined in? I don't know, man. I can't answer that question. That's a whole dipper in itself, dude. Kim from Athens says, a dig in the hat today. Like I said, I'm dressed for radio today. Lynn from Knoxville says, if I had to guess, related to Elon, he firmly believes the national debt will be the downfall of America. He's known for relentlessly pursuing a clear objective and improving efficiency, etc. He doesn't understand why politicians continue playing politics with America at risk. Yeah, he also, and by the way, I will say this, and it's not always a bad thing, but his personality, his tendencies is to be like a dog with a bone. When he gets something, he can't let go. And by the way, that's partly why he's been so successful, because once he gets hold of something, it just won't stop until he's reached that point that he wants to be at.
However, you need those people. Like I don't. Like I said, Elon has taken it way too far past this point, but I wish Trump didn't take the criticism personal at first about the bill. I wish he would have taken the criticism and, he didn't have to listen to it either, but it's just, you need people like Elon because they kind of counter, everybody's got their role. And I think that's Elon's role. And it's not personal. It's just, him voicing his opinion and his criticism. So,
yeah. Mike from Florence says, I've been saying for the past 20 plus years that if we were attacked, it would be from within, all because of illegal immigration. If so many working class can get in, why wouldn't terrorists be able to? Yeah. There you go. Perfect. Lewis from Trinity says, my thought on this, to remove 1 million illegals in a year, Trump would have to remove 2,739 illegals every day of that year. With all the judges always ruling against the removals, even with the bad elements, it's going to be a real hard for us to overcome this. Wondering, are we still paying their bills and food cards? Stop that. It might speed up self-deportations. Well, that is true. So there's a lot of ways you create the self-deportation movement, and you named one of them. Remove the incentives. Carrot and a stick, right? Take away the carrot, pick up the stick. And guess what? You're not only going to have the ones you catch with the stick, you're going to have the ones who don't want the stick and they leave on their own. So I said earlier in the show, like how was it 2,200 ICE that arrested yesterday? So 2,200 in one day, which is the largest roundup in the history of the United States, 2,200 in one day. That's going to have an exponential effect because every one of those that's being deported that has family members or friends or alliances that don't want to be here without them are going to follow them back. You're going to have self-deportation volunteers because they see the handwriting on the wall and they don't want to wait until they're caught and have to be shipped back in shackles. So I think the 2,200 is going to wind up being bigger because the 2,200 creates more, but it's still a long way to go, man. Still a long way to go.
Kip from Morgan County just commented on the X stream. He said, "This is starting to look like two little kids on the playground. Both just need to move on before the country suffers."
Yeah, I agree with that, Kip. I really, I don't think we need this right now. You know what we've done? I think you may have said it earlier. What we've done is we've handed the Democrats a distraction.
Yep,
They
we've
are
given them a bone.
They've complete disarray. They got nothing. They got no leadership. They got no agenda. They got no nothing. And we gave them a talking point anyway.
Yep, this something like this is what they needed. They couldn't get anything on their own. We'd have to mess something up.
Self-inflicted wound. Chris from Madison says the broadness of warfare amazes me. An attack on our power grid, for example, would be devastating. Yes. And by the way, we just had another one that I forgot to bring the story with me, but all of these power cells for solar generation that we see being made in China, one of the major distributors of those, it was just found, had a backdoor transmitter built into them that was not listed on their parts supply list as part of their schematics. It was discovered by FBI checking them out. And what it could have done, because those things tie to the power grid, it could have allowed them to backdoor into the power grids by activating from afar. So there's no other reason for it to be there except that bad actors wanted it there in China. Aunt Sister in Huntsville says, regarding Trump versus Musk, I'm amazed it took so long to happen. They are two very similar guys with difficult personalities. I still appreciate what each has done to reel us back from the cliff. Aunt Sister. Do we know who Aunt Sister is? I feel like I might know who Aunt Sister is. All right. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. Coming back with some Butters and Lee. Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. Whew, it goes from like Huntsville back on over to Chattanooga and Tuscaloosa back on over to Gadsden, all the way down to the loveliest little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the border from there to what we get to call once again Fort Benning. And then big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi thrown in just for good measure. And that's not even counting all the folks that listen online or podcast with us. So we appreciate you, all of you. All right, listen, this is the thing. It's Thankful Thursday. It is. It's Thankful Thursday. It's what we call it every week, Thankful Thursday. But one of the things I'm thankful for is that we got a crew of people that actually provide so much in terms of making this company work. And two of them come in every Thursday, and we do a little section we like to call Butters and Lee. All right, I didn't call the roll, so I guess I'll call that first. Butters, you there?
I am here, sir.
You are indeed. The phones are working. And then Lee, you're here.
I am here.
I'm JP. You're a genius.
It wasn't just me. It was Butters.
Okay, Butters too. Thank y'all very much. We have phones. All right. Hey, listen, you guys, y'all know the deal. First round, I ask you questions. Second round, you ask me questions. So here's my first question. So like Musk and Trump are going at it. All right. In the last couple hours, it's really gotten ugly. Musk and Trump are having a very public spat about the big, beautiful bill, which has now gotten very personal. And all of a sudden, Musk is talking about how, America's not being represented well, that Trump's on the Epstein list. I mean, it's gotten just ugly. Are we watching like just a mere fuss, like a little squabble between brothers, or are we watching a total breakup? What are your thoughts? Lee, you first.
I definitely think Musk wants to distance himself from Trump, and probably vice versa at this point. I don't know if it's as bad as it really seems. Maybe Elon's wanting to put some distance because of his company's performances. Tesla's down. Maybe he wants to kind of end that association in order to bring that back up again. I mean, it's going to go up, but I think also Isaacson was pulled from NASA. I know he wanted NASA to use Starlink. I mean, I think that there's, and Isaacson was, I think, his friend, knew Musk really well. Trump pulled him from consideration for head of NASA. So I'm just saying, I think there's some things that have happened. Maybe he wanted more for, electric cars. I don't know why he thought Trump would do that, honestly, but I think there were things he expected that didn't happen. And so there's been a bit of, fluff over that. But all in all, I think they'll end up in a good spot. I just think right now they're not there.
Yeah, they're not there. They're not. I'm going to come back to that, but let me get Butters first. So Butters, this thing right now, man, is it a total breakup or just a fuss?
I think I think it's in line with Elon genuinely is not happy with this whole bill and all the effort that he's poured into Doge. And I think his sentiments are echoed by a lot of people that have been there to support Trump, to support Elon and all of this. And, there's just this massive amount of frustration of, you got to be kidding me. We if not now, when are we going to ever actually fix anything? Because there's a lot of people thinking ain't nothing going to get fixed anytime soon.
Yeah, and I got to ask, though, why do y'all think he waited till after the House had passed the bill? Because it's not like it hadn't been in debate for a while. The big, beautiful bill's been talked about since Trump got sworn in.
Part of that, I think, is because he knew that certain things had to be in there to pass. They both Trump and Musk know that, you can only get through what you can get through. And if the votes aren't there, then we're going to get back into, Trump, they'll blame the Republicans like they always do. And, but I will say this, Musk did a lot of things at a great personal cost.
Yeah.
And I think he feels it was a bit of a slap in the face that that Congress seems to be underwhelmed as far as getting, a lot of these things codified. And I have to agree. And I think he looks at it and go, why did I do this?
All right. What do you think, Butters? Is this?
Well, I mean, I think, I saw the tweet out from Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene the other day, where she makes a comment of, I wouldn't have voted. I would have opposed this bill if I'd known that. I think she was talking about the AI stuff or something that was in this bill. But
Yeah.
the greater point is you got a bunch of legislators. Like, what are we doing? We're still passing bills without actually reading them. They forget whatever it was she was talking about, and I think
they only have so much time. They only have. And here's, in my opinion, you post every bill for at least 30 days to give the public time to research it, look at it, and then contact their congressman.
But I think that's the point for Elon. Quite frankly, maybe some considerations on his business and the valuation, all that kind of stuff. But that man's got more money. Like, we can't fathom a thought process of a guy like that with those resources. I don't think it's about money. He's got all the money and power he could want. He's genuinely trying, and he's frustrated. Like, we're going to continue to do the exact same thing and come up with excuses. And I think, sadly, there's a lot of people sitting there going, well, dadgum, what do I do now?
Well, I think
nothing's good.
I'm hearing Butters say that you think that Musk is truly battling from an ideological standpoint. And you think that Lee, are you saying you think this is more like a disappointment in things that affect him personally as businesses? Is that what you're saying?
I think it's both. I think this has, but I'm just saying he's done a lot of. He's stuck his neck pretty far out at significant cost to him, and then I think he has then seen that a less than enthusiastic response by Congress. All I'm saying is that he's saying, well, if we do what we always done, we'll get what we've always been given. And it's true. But I don't know how you change that.
Well, and I'll wrap this. Go ahead, Butters. Go real quick.
Well, I was just going to say, I dare say Trump trying to get on this, that Elon didn't help him get elected, I think is a laughable, ridiculous commentary. And the whole thing just makes me really sad to see. Because it's not going to end well. It's not. Whatever it is, it's not going to be good.
It can end well. That's my point. Is they need to get hold of it like right now, because right now you've got Trump saying we're going to cancel all of Elon's contracts, which is using his office for punitive opportunities, and then you've got Musk coming out and saying, well, Trump's on the Epstein list. I mean, the whole thing has gone way beyond I disagree with the bill. So if you want to disagree with the bill, I think the world, the base, needs y'all just to disagree on the freaking bill and let us enjoy the fact that we still took back our country in November. And oh, by the way, how about we not give the Democrats just a great moment to enjoy themselves when they had nothing good going in their favor? It's like we gave them a wound to crow about, and they're all eating popcorn and loving this show. All right, got to move on to another topic. I got about 4 minutes left, so let me just deal with this, because Democrats got their own problems. They do. Now, we just cooked up one of our own today, apparently, between Musk and Trump. But Democrats there's a whole circular firing squad going on out of who knew what, when, and covered things up with the Autopen and all of it in the Biden administration. And Karine Jean-Pierre, the the gaslighter in chief, just announced she's written a book and she's left the Democrat Party after being an operative for years. What are your thoughts on Karine Jean-Pierre? Give me about a minute and a half, if you don't mind there, Butters.
So the short version is, because there's a lot to unpack with that, I'll just focus on, I think it's just one more reason that's making a lot of people feel really uncomfortable and really unhappy with where things are right now.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to jail. Nobody's going to jail. Nobody's been hauled off. No major changes occurred. And these shenanigans are being allowed to just continue. And we're going to be mad that she's writing a book instead of happy that she's being dragged in and interrogated, asked questions, something. And I think that speaks to the exact same, sentiment and frustration as we're talking about with Musk and Trump.
I got a thought on that, but give me yours real quick there, Lee.
I think that she is a paid liar, a paid shield, and she stood up there and lied for Biden for years, knowing full well what she was doing, and now she's trying to put distance between herself and him, and it's not going to work. And she deceived the country, and we will not forget it.
No, and I agree with that. By the way, I don't think that it's not that no one's gone to jail yet. I mean, still, we're barely over 125 days of the administration, and Congressman Comer on oversight announced they have now subpoenaed and/or made opportunity available for all of the key members of the Biden administration's leadership to have to appear and give testimony, and that's happening like now as we speak. I think you also saw the Department of Justice just announced yesterday they're doing a full-blown Autopen investigation now with Department of DOJ assets are engaged on the possibility. And then the Director of National Intelligence fired like a whole bunch of what they believe to be compromised members of the intelligence community not long ago. So I think you're seeing them taking a whacking at some of this, but there's more to do. And I'm like you, heads got to roll. But they still got to gather the evidence and do the discovery piece first, so they got it tight, in my opinion. All right, I got to leave it there. That's round one. That's Butters and Lee. They come back on the next round and ask me questions. I don't know what questions are coming. I just hope I got an answer. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. The phones are working, JP. The phones are working. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Just using common sense like a superpower. All right, so I'm going back to round 2 of Butters and Lee. This is the round where they ask me questions, any questions, and I'm just like sitting there with bated breath, hoping I got an answer for them. So I'm going ladies first. Lee, pray tell, what is your question for me?
Okay, so recently, Trinity Methodist kicked out the Republican men's group from their meeting there on Saturday due to leftists within and outside their church demanding that happen, or they're going to picket and cause trouble. Also, Moms for Liberty is hosting Marjorie Taylor Greene this month. There's been a lot of calls online for disruption and demanding the places, break the contract and not allow it, etc. My question for you is, why is it that leftists and liberals feel the need to silence others, whereas when you look at it from the other direction, I'd actually prefer they speak because I think their own words will sink them, but they seem obsessed with shutting people up. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think I need to point out that the left is the more tolerant of all of us. I mean, everybody knows they're the more tolerant.
Sure.
In fact, what's really crazy is they will often say exactly the opposite of what they really do. They'll scream at us and claim that we're, in some way systemically racist or violating their civil liberties or denying them opportunities or exerting our privilege or whatever the case may be. And yet the reality is they're the first to cancel, the first to dox, the first to scream, the first to break things, the first to riot. So what are my thoughts on it? First of all, I think somebody at Trinity Methodist needs to get some kahunas and realize that kicking out the Republican breakfast from a facility they've used for years and nobody was hurt by it, that's just nothing but petty and kowtowing to a minority in your community. And then the other is, the Moms for Liberty event. Listen, someone's going to host that event and they're going to have a great time and a great crowd and it's going to be awesome. And if any facility decides they want to try and shut that down, I plan to be there. I think it's going to be a hoot. It's going to be great. But if they want to try and shut that down, then, good luck with that. All it'll do is blow back. And I guarantee you they'll lose other contracts for trying to deny this one. That's my thoughts. Yay.
Are they going to get more than 5 people out there?
Yeah, well, they might find 6 or 7 because there are aspects of Huntsville's politics that are beginning to turn purple. But still, I think that I still think that the by and large the community is very red. That's my thought. Wow, Trinity Methodist. How long has the Republican breakfast been meeting there? Do you know?
I mean, years.
That's what I thought.
And it was last minute, and it's been very difficult because they're a very large group.
Yeah, they are.
To find a facility that could accommodate them. So yeah, it's been and they weren't hurting a soul.
No, and I would bet too that was one of the groups that when they used the facilities, they always cleaned up after themselves and left it better than they found it. I guarantee.
Of course.
Next question, Butterman. What have you got for me?
Well, I hate. It's kind of along the same lines, but kind of a different twist, going after the folks on the left. So Hakeem Jeffries, the other day, basically saying that he's going to make sure we dox all the ICE agents.
Yep.
Did you see the video clip, the press conference?
I did. It was awful. Shame on him as a minority leader in the House to ever say something like that.
Are we living in the twilight zone? And this is part of what should happen to him, or is he just blowing smoke trying to get people worked up?
Yes and yes. So you keep in mind that Chuck Schumer just a few years ago called for protests as to Supreme Court justices, and what's her name? Maxine.
And it happened.
And Maxine Waters, who's like a walking cartoon, She's out there telling if you see a conservative somewhere, you call them out. You don't let them eat in your restaurants. You tell them who's who. Basically calling for violence and getting in people's faces. So once again, the left is doing what the left does, and it's awful. But it's made all the more so when you realize that who he's calling out right now is not just people that are ideologically opposed, because he's calling them out for being law enforcement. They may wind up being Democrat voters, but because they're wearing the badge, because they're on a government raid or something, like, he wants to dox them and make their families miserable. I don't care what party my police officers are. I just want to know that they are allowed to do their jobs to make our communities safer. And the fact that you've got Hakeem Jeffries doing it with his dead eye look. I mean, the guy's got the deadest eyes I've ever seen. He looks like he's asleep while he's talking. And he's up there saying he's gonna call out and make them known. I mean, that is, to me, one of the most reprehensible things I have ever seen a public official do. And all it does is put our law enforcement at risk. It's absolutely 100% deserves to be censured on the floor of the House for doing it. There. What else can I say?
I mean,
Online they call him Timu Obama or Dollar Store Obama.
Timu Obama.
they do realize that folks on a more conservative slant tend to deliver the pizzas themselves, right? Like, we don't play those games, and that just seems like you're really pushing really far with that those kind of shenanigans.
No, I think you really are. And you know what happens when somebody actually follows up on it, because that's exactly the kind of rhetoric that caused the guy to go shoot up the Republican baseball practice and put Steve Scalise in the hospital. That's the kind of rhetoric that incites, BLM rioters to think that it's okay because Kamala Harris will pay their bail to get out. Sooner or later, somebody's going to wind up getting really hurt because of this official rhetoric that was used to incite people. And yet, what did they try to claim that Trump did on January 6th? The whole thing was Trump tried to incite riots. Well, what did they just do? Once again, pointing the finger and accusing on things they're actually doing themselves. All right, you guys, got to leave it there. Butters and Lee, that was an amazing. I'm so fired up now. I just need to go run laps or something. I'm just wow. All right, you guys, appreciate both of you. Thank you so much. That's Butters and Lee. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Coming up, hour number 3. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Welcome to hour number 3 on a thankful Thursday. Yes, indeedy, thankful. You know what? In the light of everything going on, I still think we need to play the thankful sound effect one more time. Just play it. Just play thankful.
You got to be more thankful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
We thank you so much for this bountiful harvest of Domino's, KFC, and the always delicious Taco Bell.
Have you said thank you once?
Thank you.
Nice. Well played, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you.
No,
By the way.
thank you.
David at Bucky's chimed in. He says JP is taking Texas game 2 in the WCWS championship. What?
He's asking softball championship.
I was like, I wasn't tracking.
I have to say, since Alabama got booed, I've kind of not paid attention to softball as much. So I can't give you a fair answer.
You can't do that. You can't be JP on sports if you're going to be JP just on Alabama sports.
I got to be honest. I don't watch much softball out of Alabama. So
there's that.
I think that's the honest answer.
Jim from Athens says, I really hate it when supposedly adults act like 2-year-olds. Yep. They are both better than that. Or are they? Said social media is not a place for this. Face-to-face, work it out. Yes, this is fodder for the dying Dems. I want to get onto both of them. I put my britches on the same, but mine are Wrangler. Nice. David from Huntsville, Elon Musk did add votes to Trump, and so did RFK Jr. I agree with that. I mean, I don't think anybody denies that. I think that Trump did a lot for the campaign. I know that Trump is using that as a bludgeon right now. That's a lash out. It's like one of those things you say when you're angry and then you regret having said it. I would like to think that Trump would regret saying some of these things, but the reality is, I think the world knows that Trump built a coalition. He did. And Elon Musk was definitely part of it. And Elon buying Twitter back in 2022 was a huge part of it. I cannot imagine what our life would be like right now if right now, you and I, we're streaming. Rightside is streaming on Twitter. I guarantee you, if he had not bought Twitter, we couldn't stream.
Definitely not. We'd be, taken down for the second we questioned anything. It's
look at my Facebook account. Had like thousands of followers. I was locked out of it forever, and all of a sudden, it just came back.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like you said. If you're gonna have people. The reason Trump won is because he assembled a team of not just Republicans. He took former Democrats and, people who have, come to the light, like RFK, like Tulsi Gabbard, like Elon. So that inherently means you're not going to agree on 100% of everything because you got people with different backgrounds and stuff. So if that's going to happen, it can't be blown up like this.
No, it can't be blown up like this. This is awful. This is Tammy says, Tammy Blunt says, quit calling it Twitter, please. I can't help it. I had like 8 to 10 years of calling it one thing. And
well, I got bullied by Dale Jackson every time I called it X because he refuses to call it X. It's always Twitter. So I got bullied for calling it.
I will say it's easier to call it Twitter.
Yeah,
it's easier to, when you say X, you feel like you're supposed to say something else. There's nothing else there.
Mm-hmm.
X. It's on X. And what do you say? Are you Xing? At least you could say tweeting.
I think he said they're actually still called tweets. It's according to Elon. So
really,
he said they're still called tweets, but it's X. So
and they did get rid of hashtags, which I'm fine with that.
Yeah, well, I think you can still use it, but they're meaningless. They don't do anything.
Yeah, the algorithm doesn't need it
No.
to make things work. I sound like I know what I'm saying when I said that. I don't want to brag or anything, but I understand there's a word called algorithm, and I used it one time, and I think I even spelled it right.
It's like one of those make you sound smart words.
Algorithm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your name? My name's Al. Last name's Go Rhythm.
Go Rhythm.
Oh my gosh. Mike from Florence, Alabama says the Trump Mustang reminds me of a contractor I worked for. Weekly safety suggestions could get you a reward. I got a stainless tumbler one week, but the next week I got laid off. He said, I wasn't pissed off about the layoffs. It was common in union contract work. I was ticked, though, that a legitimate safety concern with a simple remedy once again went ignored. Musk found some cuts. They were mostly ignored other than a pat on the back. He'll be remembered as having done nothing with Doge. You know what, Mike? I don't know that's true yet. The House is working on a bill right now to codify some of these cuts. A lot of the cuts he put in are being jammed up by the courts, not by the Trump administration. Trump is trying to lay people off, and then the courts say you can't. Trump is trying to not have USAID, and then the courts say you can't. We have definitely saved billions and billions of dollars because of what Doge did. And I really think that it'll stick if we can get past some of the hurdles that the libs are throwing in the way of getting it done. Now, I also believe this. There's a vast difference between being a conservative and being a Republican. And we have some weak sisters up there in D.C. right now who are content to go, well, I don't know, man. I mean, I got to take the pork home. I got to take a little something home to my people. You know what I'm saying? Don't cancel that grant. Just cancel his. Don't cancel mine. So we got some of that going on. I know, and I guarantee it. But he is like at war with Harvard right now. He's cutting all these ridiculous grants. He's cutting back on, $20 million for gay Sesame Street in Baghdad. It's just so things are happening. We want more, but don't think nothing happened. What you got?
And I don't even think he's that upset about. Well, let me say he's probably upset about it, but I don't think this blow up was about the Doge cuts not being codified yet. It's the fact that he did all of that to cut $250 billion, I think was the final amount in spending, and then the Trump administration is like, "Great job, Elon. Anyways, let's get a big, beautiful bill that adds $2.5 trillion to the deficit in 10 years." So I think he's like, "Okay, I did all of that for what?"
So you think this is absolutely an ideological sparked argument?
I really do think so. If
so.
people are going to claim it's the EV mandate, I don't buy that.
I think people are going to claim anything, but right now what we can claim is, boy, they are getting petty with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, like petty, like I don't know who has the ability to get either one of their ears in a meaningful way.
Yep.
But somebody needs to get both of them off to the side and go, stop, for the love of God, man.
I mean, I don't know if it has to be like a Trump Jr. or somebody that may be friends with both to be like, hey guys, knock it off.
Yeah.
This isn't hurting us.
Jay from Hartselle says Elon's a businessman. Once he figured out that he spent millions on getting Trump elected and got very little return, he turned. And Jay, I disagree. I don't think he got very little in return. He didn't ask for things that we know of. He didn't ask for things. In fact, he can't knowingly ask for things. But look what he did by rescuing the astronauts. He went up there and got them with his Dragon spacecraft. Look what he did with Doge. And we don't have a USAID, paying for, sex change surgeries in Guatemala anymore. And look what he did with, any number of other things. And then, by the way, I think that we have just, I got some, is my microphone?
Your microphone was moving. Like it was slowly moving down.
Is that what that was?
Yep.
I thought you were tapping on your mic over
No.
there. Okay. I just tightened it up.
There we go. Yeah.
Now it's better. I don't have the sound of something. Okay. Anyway, but the bottom line is this. I think that I don't think there's anything out there that he didn't get. I think I agree with JP. There's an ideological bent to this. And then the ideological bent got personal. And now the personal is getting ugly. And now it's like we went from, no, you did, to they're having a full-blown fist fight in the public eye.
I think Trump is used to whenever he calls somebody out, they just tuck their tail between their legs and go, okay, and go, because they know they lose. But then you got Elon who just shot it right back. And then Trump shot it right back. And now it's just out of control.
Yeah. Tom from Decatur said, by the way, Elon better not deplatform Trump.
Well, I saw a joke about that, and then somebody else said we're about to get a tweet about deporting Elon sometime soon.
Please stop. Bruce from Springville from earlier says Trump and Musk need to stop acting like children and do the jobs we the people hired them to do. There you go. John from Huntsville says, Phil, I don't think what Ukraine did was okay. What about the discussion we had earlier about the drones? He said, I don't think what Ukraine did was all that epic. If Ukraine can do it, Russia can do it, especially since Ukrainians basically are Russians living in another country. He said what Zelensky did is just going to get more innocent Ukrainians killed. Well, I mean, John, that's right after they just had an entire missile barrage that launched into civilian sectors of. Listen, I don't agree with that. I think that what happened was you had them both being called out to come to the peace table. And then while they're going to the peace negotiation table, Russia decided to launch a massive missile barrage. And Ukraine said, we can't go to the peace table looking like the ones who don't have it going on. So we got to have our own. And so they launched what they've been planning for 18 months. And both sides then went to the table saying, with bloody noses and black eyes, how do you like me now? That's what we got. It's not just, and by the way, they just did it inside of Russia. So what they did was prove they can also, Ukrainians are getting killed, Russians are getting killed, and there's been a lot of them getting killed, both sides. It's really, it's another thing that's got to stop. Do I have any more real quick? Or going to, one more. Steve from Madison. What a complete embarrassment. This is the kind of thing that will make us lose the House and Senate next November. The big, beautiful bill is a big, bad bill, and we all know it. There's aspects of it we really need. They better get something passed that has those tax cuts in it, or all of us are going to face the biggest tax increase in the history of the United States. So there are pieces of this they've got to get done. And here's the other thing. It just freaking passed the House. Why are we fighting over it now? Everybody saw it coming. Everybody saw it get debated. Everybody saw it have to go through the entire committee process to the floor of the House. They stayed up all night. They fought down the Democrats. They kept the filibusters from going, and they got it done, and they passed it to the Senate. And now all of a sudden we're going to fight over it? Yeah, there's I will say this. There's a little political disingenuousness going on there. Because if you're going to have a fight over it while it's going. Don't fight over it when it's halfway to the finish line. I've seen this happen in Montgomery when people are like, we'll just kill it in the House. It's easier to kill it in the House. Or we'll kill it in the Senate. Or I ain't passing it till I know what the Senate's going to do. They do that crap all the time. If you don't want to pass it, don't pass it at all. But don't let us spend all the political time and capital that it takes to get it done and then leave the Speaker of the House sitting there going, well, why didn't you argue with me back then? Why are you arguing with me now? Mike from Florence says, great idea. Says JP, great idea. Trump Jr. is the mediator. Elon and TJ need to show up at Mar-a-Lago with McDonald's.
Hey, I think the only person that Trump would listen to may be somebody in his own family. So
that's been the thought for a long time, is that there's very few people that truly have his ear unfettered.
Mm-hmm.
JR from Rogersville says, Colonel, that's a long text. He goes, concerning Trump and Elon, it's been my experience when dealing with very successful men and women. They have an enormous ego. Okay. When anyone mentions Elon or Trump, not just a specific community, no, but the entire world knows of whom we speak. As far as the big, beautiful bill, there's only so much that can be done with a simple majority. To do what Musk wants done, it would have to be done through regular order. I agree with that. At the moment, this is not regular order. No one will get all that we want. I cannot recall a time that two men needed each other for both of them to reach a common goal. If and when this gets back to the House, my concern is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She stated she will not vote for the bill unless certain changes are made. The question that I ask is, do we make a step forward or 3 steps back? It's where we are, JR. Great analysis. I'm taking a break. Let's take the break right now. We'll come right back. I got to move to another dipper. Which one do I want? Thought police or rats jumping ship? They're both something else. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just pulling pins on truth grenades. All right, so I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to call an audible here, there, JP. I'm going to go straight to what is listed on the sheet as Dipper number 3 for the day: the rats jumping ship. All right, so in the middle of everything going on with the Republicans having an in-house squabble right now, I will say this. Democrats got nothing. The Democrats got nothing. The Trump administration is still going gangbusters good, all right, and literally correcting things and finding things and doing things on a daily basis. They've done more in 125 days than the Democrats dreamed of getting done in 4 years. That being said, the Democrats are also jumping ship right now in a big way. It's a circular firing squad over there. And this is not like, one person going, well, I really didn't agree with the way we did that. No, these are people like going, I gotta talk to somebody because what I saw was horrible. I want out. Please don't subpoena me. Can I be your whistleblower? I mean, we're starting to see whistleblowers come forward. And the biggest one is what happened yesterday with Karine Jean-Pierre, the gaslighter in chief, suddenly coming out and going, oh, by the way, despite the fact that I've been a Democrat operative now for a number of years, I'm going to be an independent and I'm going to write a tell-all book about what I've been lying about for the last 4 years. Wait, I guess she was technically for the last 2 years, wasn't she? Jen Psaki was before her.
By the way, I have to say gaslighter in chief. I like that title.
You like it?
I think it's good.
I coined it here, right on Rightside. You're welcome to use it anytime you want to. Just give credit to where it's credit's due. So yeah, the gaslighter in chief, that would be indeed Karine Jean-Pierre. So we got, how much time have I got? Do I have time for this segment?
About 2 minutes.
We're going to play it when we get back from this break then. But I'll tell you this, right now what we're looking at is the bailout, the rats jumping ship is starting to hit new levels. I got a story here from Daily Caller. Daily Caller points out that House Oversight Committee is calling for investigations and they're bringing people in. And now some of them will come in and they'll claim executive privilege. We should go ahead and expect it. That's fine. Get them on the record refusing to talk. You know why? Because that means there's something they don't want to talk about. But House Republicans right now, according to Daily Caller Dateline yesterday, are intensifying their probe into Joe Biden's health cover-up, requesting that the following individuals appear. Chief of Staff Ron Klain. It's believed he knows everything. He should. He's Chief of Staff. Senior Advisor Anita Dunn. Former Senior Advisor Mike Donilon. Deputy Chief of Staff Bruce Reed. Counselor Steve Ricchetti. These are people who have the ingredients to the secret sauce, y'all. And they're gonna be called in, and some of them are going to resist. Some are going to say, I shouldn't have to testify. Somebody's going to wind up being a whistleblower. I guarantee you. Someone, in order to avoid what is happening, because right now the word's getting out anyway. You got Jake Tapper's book. You got Karine Jean-Pierre's gaslighter book that's coming out. The book is actually called Broken. Can you get that? She stood up there and told us for the last 2 years, oh, he runs rings around the staff. He's extremely alert. There's no problem with the president. By the way, I'm going to write a book. It's called Broken. It's really, really bad stuff that happened covering things up. It's hard. What did I say yesterday? One of the worst phrases that has done more damage in the history of mankind is the "I was just following orders" phrase. I was just following orders. I was up there. I had to be the spot. I was working for my boss, man. I had people telling me what I had to say. Sure, that's all it was. But the rats are jumping ship, and Karine Jean-Pierre is the biggest rat of all. I mean, like rat queen. She is the rat queen. And she is jumping ship now in a big way. All of a sudden, everybody's mad at her, and they want to know what's up. Well, you got stuff happening. I'll tell you more about it as the rats jump ship, to include, what did Stephen A. Smith say about Karine Jean-Pierre? It's pretty good, you can imagine. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We'll be right back. solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all don't talk about this show. Whew, it goes from like Huntsville back on over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back on over to Gadsden. All the way down to that loveliest little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the border, what we get to call once again Fort Benning. And then big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi thrown in just for good measure. And that's just the radio. Thank you very much, radio people. But then we have a whole bunch of y'all in the big wide world going to the World Wide Web, watching us on YouTube, on X, on Facebook, on our website. Thank you very much. We appreciate you more than you can possibly know. Speaking of our website, got to point out rightsidemedia.org. So we kicked off a brand new podcast. The next edition of the Just Right podcast comes out next Tuesday. Pretty excited about it. I can't wait for you to see this interview. I'll tell you more about it as it develops, but we've already got it in the can. It's ready to go. So JP's finishing production on that. But the Just Right podcast, in honor of the Just Right podcast, we now have a promo code going on our shop online. So if you want to buy Rightside t-shirts, hats, coffee mugs, or our Ben Shot Bulletproof Influence glasses, which are very cool, everything's 10% off if you use the promo code Just Right. So go check it out. Go to rightsidemedia.org, click on shop, and then just if you see something you like, use the promo code Just Right, and then you 10% off everything. There you go. All right, so jumping ship. I got more on this, but I will tell you this. Karine Jean-Pierre may be the most just obnoxiously self-aggrandizing, gaslighting liar that I've ever seen. The gaslighter in chief. Well, she's written a book, and she came out yesterday, and people on social media are ripping her a new one. I mean, Scott Jennings, he had an amazing quote about her. And then Real Clear Politics, Tom Bevan, he said, this is like OJ looking for the killers. Holy cow. I mean, at least, I will say this, at least Jake Tapper, who I've lost respect for too. Well, I'm not sure I've ever had any. But anyway, Jake Tapper, at the very least, he didn't work inside the White House. He didn't work like every day with the president. He didn't get up at the podium in his official capacity and lie about what was happening behind the scenes of the White House. She did. And now she's going to say, I'm the good guy. I'm here to tell you everything that really happened. Stephen A. Smith is having none of it. Stephen A. Smith, not known for mincing words. I'm not even a big Stephen A. Smith fan. But I tell you what I really appreciate. Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith are two libs who will call out their own people. And that's needed. That's called reality check. That's called accountability. So Bill Maher is epically good at calling out his own side sometimes. And then Stephen A. Smith just yesterday, he called out Karine Jean-Pierre in a big way. Play it, man.
As press secretary, when you showed up on ABC's The View a couple of months ago, you were talking major stuff then. You were not the White House press secretary. You were an American citizen.
That's right.
Who was not working in the White House. What the hell you go on the show for then? Bloviating about Joe Biden.
Bloviating.
And how
I like that.
He was alert, and he was spry, and he was a great commander-in-chief, and he was sharp, and all of this stuff. I don't have it clipped in front of me because I just saw the story. You're lucky I don't have time to pull it up. But I'm fully aware of the fact that you were not the White House press secretary when you were on The View spewing the same stuff you had spewed when you were the White House press secretary. So all bets are off. You didn't have to do that, but you chose to. Live with your decisions. Live with your decisions. You didn't have to do that, but that's what you chose to do. You chose to go front and center and still spew the same party line So what the book's going to tell us? The book's going to tell us more about the Democrats. The book is the book going to be an extension of Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson's book, Original Sin? Yet another Democrat coming out and telling us about stuff that a whole bunch of stuff on the right was telling us, but y'all swore we shouldn't listen to while y'all were engaging in cancel culture, while y'all were engaging in excoriating anybody that called the Democratic Party out for what the hell was going on.
Hey, stop it.
That's what we're supposed to do.
I got to tell you, the man is on it, though. He's saying exactly what I'm saying. It's another Democrat coming out. You know what this is? This is the rats jumping ship. When the ship begins to sink and you see the rats coming to the surface deck and jumping off into the water, you know it's because they got to get out before it goes down. The rats are jumping ship right now. And this Karine Jean-Pierre book may be the biggest example. I think I said yesterday on the show, the only person who could be worse to write an expose all book would be Jill Biden. She's the only one who's going to have more, lies to her credit to have to cover up for with a book. And you know what? I don't put it past her too. I wouldn't be a bit surprised to find the Jill Biden book is already under contract and she's already gotten some, advance from the publishing house.
This is like Hunter Biden writing a book of who left cocaine at the White House.
Why the laptop wasn't real.
Yeah.
It was all Russia. I mean, but you know what? We're watching. So here's a couple things for you. Rats jumping ship. How about this? We have one right now. We have one member of the Secret Service who has recently come out as a whistleblower to Senator Josh Hawley and made the stunning claim that he said that President Biden actually got lost in his own walk-in closet one day. And I don't know how to take that. I don't know what that means. Did he get in there and get confused? Is it that big of a closet? I mean, I don't know. I mean, how big of a closet does he have? But you got a member of the Secret Service now allegedly saying that we saw it every day. So whistleblower number one. How about this one? I've got a story from Fox News, Dateline 3 days ago. A whistleblower now accuses the Biden administration of leaving thousands of migrant child trafficking reports uninvestigated. This is data from Health and Human Services. And we've got a whistleblower named Tara Rodas, who has now come out and said she saw and claimed that there were thousands of reports of migrant children being human trafficked that the Trump administration left uninvestigated. And they're only now being looked at for the first time. And I'm telling you, and now we got the whole Autopen thing. Story here on the Daily Wire. As of yesterday, the Trump administration has officially ordered an investigation into the Biden Autopen scandal. And where this is going to go, I don't know yet. But you can do the analysis and you can see that it appears that all the executive orders, with the exception of maybe one or two, were actually signed by Joe Biden in his personal capacity. The rest were done by the Autopen, which is, by the way, not illegal unless he didn't grant the authority to do it. So if they were used for the purpose of issuing pardons, then you have to begin to question, are the people actually really pardoned because the president did not know? I don't know what we're going to find out on this, but I will tell you this. The Heritage Foundation's Oversight Project examined records, according to Daily Wire, with Biden's signature over the course of his presidency. And they found many, many important documents had Autopen signatures, including his 11th hour pardons of Dr. Anthony Fauci, General Mark Milley, the January 6th committee members, and certain members of his own family. At this point, you have to ask, who's going to come forward and go, I saw them do it. I heard the conversation. Somebody said, he won't say yes, he won't say no. We don't know what to do, so let's just get it done. Someone's going to say that, and they're going to say that because they're going to know that if they don't say it first, somebody else will, and they're going to turn on each other. This is what happens. There's no honor among thieves. This is what happens. I believe you're going to wind up seeing sometime soon a whistleblower. And I'll tell you the one that I'm watching for, and I don't know if they can do it or not. I mean, when I worked in a skiff in the Pentagon, we actually had to lock our phones outside in little lock boxes. That's the kind of place where they just found that bag of cocaine a few months ago. Remember that? But I guarantee you there are people walking around the White House with cell phones in their pocket, cell phones that have cameras, cell phones that have video and audio. And I guarantee you, somebody somewhere said, I got to get this recorded because if the day comes, I got to have the evidence. So somewhere, someone said something in a meeting and wanted to make sure it got recorded. Now, allegedly, the White House has recordings like the Oval Office. Remember the Watergate tapes? There's allegedly recording devices intentionally in all these places because they're official conversations. There's unofficial conversations that happen all the time. Somewhere, someone was in an elevator. Somewhere, someone was in a hallway. Somewhere, someone was out on the grass on the north lawn. And I'm just telling you, you watch. The rats are jumping ship right now. Somebody's going to come out with a video that the whole world's going to go, holy crap. And it's going to be a CYA for them to get that video out and ask for immunity in return for whatever they have to do with that video. You watch. It's coming. Got some text messages. Let me get those real quick. Tom from Tanner, Alabama. He says, Musk now says he will decommission the Dragon spacecraft after Trump's threat of canceling SpaceX contracts. I saw that. It's getting worse by the minute. Connor from Huntsville says, hey, Phil, this is Connor from Huntsville. This Autopen mess is not going to be figured out from the top down. It's going to be figured out from the bottom up. I hope we see a squeeze and a squeal strategy, poke the right person, and they're going to talk because they're not going down for anything. Talk to you later. Bye. That was called a voice text coming through. I can tell because there's not a single bit of punctuation in there. John from Huntsville. Hey, JP, did you hear that Auburn's hosting a super regional baseball game? And Alabama didn't even win a single postseason baseball game. War Eagle.
Where did that come from?
Is this the version? Is this y'all's version of the Trump Musk right here?
I guess so.
Okay.
I mean, what do you want me to say?
Terry from Elgin, Alabama says, do you remember Joe Biden's first day in office? He was signing executive orders. He said, I don't know what I'm signing. Kamala Harris has told him to sign it. You know what? Somebody pulled that tape up. That's right. Bobby from Huntsville says, if it comes out that Joe Biden was not competent to hold office from day one, and some of the people who've been appointed, as in these judges that keep trying to run the country for Trump, would be null and void because of the way they were nominated. That would be a curious thing, except that here's this, Bobby. I don't know if the nomination would be enough if the party went through confirmation of the U.S. Senate. So I don't think we've ever been here before. So I don't know. Can we undo it? Did you have to have the nomination knowingly along with the confirmation, or does the confirmation then supersede the original nomination because they got confirmed by the U.S. Senate? I don't know. But I do know this. Pardons and commutations, that's real. That's big. That can be undone. And then you had any number of executive orders that changed our economy, that changed our border policy, that changed. I mean, did he know he was signing these things? Or did someone sign on his behalf? Scott from Decatur says, refresh my memory on the definition of gaslighting. Okay. Do I have time for this? Here's the deal. It came from a movie. I did a monologue on this one day. It came from a movie. Oh shoot. I can't think of the guy's name right now, but the guy who always did the mystery movies. And there was a man in the movie who wanted his wife's money, and he was trying to make her believe she was crazy so he could get her committed, put away. And he would go upstairs looking for her wealth in the attic. And every time he turned on the lights upstairs, it would make the lights dim downstairs. And so it's called the gaslight. And as the gaslight went down, he would tell her, no, that didn't really happen. You didn't see that. And she began to doubt her own sanity. And he was constantly telling her what you think is real is not really real. And so the term gaslighting came out of that movie. Who's the guy that does these movies?
It's a George Cukor.
No.
Patrick Hamilton. See this one?
No, the director of the movies.
The director was George Cukor, according to this.
Okay, that's a different one than I'm thinking of. Anyway, the bottom line is that's where the term gaslighting came from, Scott. And right now I'm late for a break. Let's take a break, dude. We'll take the break. We'll come right back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And yes, basically telling lies. And you are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Man, bulletproof influence. That's where we are. By the way, Alfred Hitchcock. It was killing me. I couldn't think of his name. Alfred Hitchcock was a director who I don't know you were on actually a different version of the movie.
Yeah, that's a remake.
It was a remake. But like they only remade it like 4
4
years
years
after the original.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that's where the term gaslighting comes from, was the movie. And that was 1940 was the version I was thinking of. Thomas from Killen, Alabama says gaslighting equals these are not the droids you're looking for. That's true. Although that was a little different. That was like wondrous.
I don't even know what we're talking about. So
Star Wars.
I'm not.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
I actually have never seen Star Wars, so that's a topic for another day. But no, I'm not.
You're just making me mad now.
Okay, I have seen one. I've seen one, but it was in 2016. So and it was with my middle school girlfriend. So I don't really remember it all.
You had a middle school girlfriend?
I did, yeah.
What was her name?
Emma.
Okay. John from Huntsville says JP, Phil, and Lee all get A+ for their equally outstanding performances, which means for the second day in a row, possibly the first time ever, the Rightside Radio champion is none other than the king of technology, the brilliant, magnificent Butters with a perfect A++. Congratulations. You were spot on with all your comments. This was definitely your best performance ever. Butters just got lauded. That's Lauded. 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 Lauded.
Lauded.
Lauded. I'm going to the phones right now because you know why? Because we have phones. And Jeff Rowe from Indiana is on the phone. Hey, buddy, how are you? Hey. You want the Easter Bunny to get in there and intervene?
Easter Bunny in front of Trump and take him away from Biden, because Biden with dementia, he's kind of like Dad. Dad had dementia in the last few years of his life there and everything, and it completely takes your filter away. You have if it crosses your head, it comes out your mouth. So as long as we can keep somebody from silencing Biden, all you got to do is ask him the questions and everything, and he'll tell you with the honesty of a 2-year-old.
Wow. Well, you know what though? Yeah, the Biden Easter Bunny has to be one of the strangest things that ever happened. I mean, he's literally looking lost. He's starting to say things to kids, and all of a sudden the Easter Bunny goes, "Mr. President, I'm over here." That was a crazy moment. But then again, I think we had 4 years filled with crazy moments.
Yeah. Well, the Trump Easter Bunny looks a little different than the one Biden had, but I think he still needs to get out in front of Trump. We need a distraction or something, because in 10 years from now, we're going to look back at the Trump administration and say it was the best this, and everything. And his own worst enemy was his own non-ability to keep his mouth shut.
Well, but
if he would just do that.
I got to say, though, the stuff that Elon's putting out right now is way beyond the pale. Like it escalated in an ugly way. And the very worst ones that I think are being said right now are Elon. He's tweeting things about Epstein files. And I mean, this is ugly. This is bad.
Yeah. Well, it's the tit for tat is what happened. It's and you got to remember, Elon has Asperger's, I think, and he can't control what he's saying either. Sometimes I believe, if it goes through his head, it comes out of his mouth, and like he says, he's got enough money. I don't care.
Well, maybe the chairman of the board at X needs to go and lock his account real quick and just stop the madness.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we got about 30 seconds. What do you think about Rats Jumping Ship? Karine Jean-Pierre, is she going to make a lot of money with her book?
I don't know if the Democrats are dumb enough to buy it. I guess that's the only way that she's going to make any money on that. But why buy a book that everybody else is putting out that's telling what's going on anyway?
Oh my gosh!
I mean, everybody already knows what happened. You don't have to buy a book to do it. I mean, he can be psychic, I guess, and figure out what happened behind the scenes at the White House.
I guess so, dude. Hey, man, the music is playing.
Have a good one, Phil. Thank you.